Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of Facebook entrepreneurs who are all thumbs in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. There are now more than 500 million Facebook users in the world, and I'm willing to bet that you're one of them. For individual users, Facebook, that online website the movie The Social Network is based on, is a place to look up everyone you've ever encountered from the time you were born until that moment you bought a pecan twisty at Panera Bread about 30 minutes ago. And stop looking at me like that. And that is what makes Facebook a dream come true for marketers and brand managers who understand even a little bit about how social media works. The internet has always been the great equalizer between big business and small. Your website's homepage is the same size as Walmart's, if you think about it, and Facebook is no different. Now, what sets the haves and have-nots apart is knowledge and technical skill. Now, to help us better understand how to mine the commercial potential of Facebook, I've invited Dan Zarrella and Allison Zarrella, yep, they're married, to talk with us about their new release, the Facebook Marketing Book. And both come to us with solid online credentials. Dan is the social media scientist for HubSpot.com, a place you can go for all kinds of website analysis and assistance. Allison is an interactive copywriter and social media consultant. Allison and Dan, welcome to Mr. Media.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Hey, nice to see you guys. Thanks for the wave. We appreciate that. All right, let's start with the important stuff first. Allison, how did Dan get his name listed on the book first?
Dan wrote the social media marketing book from O'Reilly about a year before this one. And so he was, the existing author, the veteran. And so he kind of got to go first, even though alphabetically it should be me, which I have heard a lot of people mention.
And by order of the book written, amount of the book written, Allison should be first too. But I got lucky.
God, I don't.
Next time, maybe.
How long have you guys been married?
3 months.
Oh, and you let him get away with that after 3 months of marriage? I mean, that's just crazy. I've been married almost 23 years, and I wouldn't have gotten away with that for 1 minute in 23 years. So okay, all right. Well, let's get down to more serious stuff. Why has Facebook emerged? I mean, not just for the social network, but as a magnet for brand marketing too. I mean, no one predicted that. No one anticipated that 5 years ago.
Do I take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So websites are great. A lot of times when you go to a website, you already have a brand in mind. You want to buy something, and you're going out and you're looking for it. Facebook is a place that you go to talk to your friends, chat about whatever you bought at Panera that day. And so it's a way to interrupt in something that they're already doing. They really are excited to hang out with their friends, and so you can connect with the brand in a different way that's more personal and fun. But that said, it really needs to be fun. You don't want to be selling so much on Facebook, but it's just a new avenue for brands and marketers to try. It's also a lot faster than a lot of websites. So if you try something on Tuesday morning and it's not working, you can switch to something else almost immediately. If it is, then you can capitalize on that, keep it going, and carry it over into your website or a commercial, brochure, anything that you want.
Is it effective marketing because it is more casual than places that you expect to be marketed to?
I think so. I think a lot of people will like a brand because they feel a connection to it, because they really like it and they're excited to say like, oh, I love the Gap or something like that. And they like that they can, for most brands, if they're doing it right, they can chat with them basically and say, oh, I love that shirt you had. That movie was awesome. I think you guys should add this to your list of products, things like that. And it feels really exciting that you could say, oh, I talked to somebody at that brand that I love. And you don't get that with a website. With a website, it's very hands-off.
Dan, I felt like I cut you off. You were going to say something.
And yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I think anytime you have 500 million people in one place, the marketers are gonna weasel their way into it. I mean, if it was a country, it'd be the third biggest country, bigger than the U.S.
Yeah.
U.S. 300 million or so, but smaller than China and India. And anytime you have that many people essentially together in one place, that many fish in one barrel, it's only a matter of time before the marketers get into it. And then, to speak to the point that Allison was talking about, where you can interact with a brand that you like, the average Facebook user has 130 fans, right? I mean, and so I've given presentations in front of groups of much smaller people, much fewer amounts of people, and I'm still definitely performing them on stage. Every time somebody's doing something on Facebook, they're essentially performing, right, in front of a group of 130 friends, and so anytime they interact with a brand, they are expressing themselves with that brand, right? I don't really, I mean, there probably is, but I can't. I would imagine, Mercedes has many more people liking it than acne cream does, right? And so the ability to sort of perform with the brand and to sort of express yourself with the brand is something that really hasn't been possible, with any other form of media prior to social media.
Well, okay, I'm going to use your analogy. Comparing Mercedes and acne cream, use that as the analogy, but instead comparing Facebook and MySpace. Okay. What I'm wondering is, there's no discussion to be had. MySpace has clearly lost tremendous ground over the years to Facebook. It was once the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Rupert Murdoch paid a ton for it. I saw today that it may be close to being sold, and I imagine it'll be pennies on the dollar. Um, how is it that Facebook has succeeded as this giant marketing machine, and MySpace didn't? And what does it need to do? And it's a little far afield, but I think it's important to people who are going to be marketing on Facebook. What does it need to continue to do to stay that relevant to its supporters and followers?
Facebook is really cautious, which can be annoying at sometimes, but I think that's what has kept them going. MySpace let every user, every brand have total control of everything they did. They could add all kinds of crappy code to their pages, make it play different music, sing, have all these ugly backgrounds. It would flash lights at you. And Facebook, you can't customize to that extent, which as a user, I sometimes feel hindered by. But as a marketer, you realize that every step that they take and every action and functionality that they add is really, it's been tested, it's been tried, and there's a good reason behind it. And so for a marketing perspective, you really want to listen to Facebook and sort of trust them and do what they say. It started as there were profiles and there was no place for marketers really, and then they added pages. If you were a brand that had been using a profile, now pages are preferred, you would get shut down. So you want to follow Facebook's lead and stick with what they say is best. That's really what has made them so successful.
It,
Yeah, I think especially early on, one of the really smart things that Facebook did, speaking from a sort of, I guess, sociological, raw marketing point of view, is that when they only allowed in, a certain number of colleges and then college students eventually, they really focused on gaining critical mass with this very small group of people, and making it very worthwhile to that group of folks before they ever expanded, and let everybody in. So, like Allison went to one of the first colleges that was on Facebook, and I think she has an experience of Facebook, that from the beginning, essentially everybody who was important was on it for her. Everybody she was going to socialize was on it with her. And so that she had a really strong connection to it from the beginning. MySpace was always just sort of, if I want to go listen to some crappy bands and have my browser crash 15 times, right? Whereas Facebook has always been, Allison loves to tell a story, maybe I'm telling it for her, which is a little weird, but about, using Facebook and being really into Facebook when it was only poking
Yeah.
and photo stalking.
Yeah. My roommate in college, and that's literally all you could do was just look at photos and see what everybody did, even though you were probably at the party, and poke and just go, oh my God, did you see who joined today? And now there's so much more. There's Farmville, you can, create your own custom tabs, things like that. But it was photos and just seeing who was there. And with every little step that they made, it got cooler. People are really hesitant to, with the new profiles, they're hesitant at first. But, another month or so, everyone will come around and love how the photos are displayed at the top now.
well, one more question before we take a quick break for commercial sponsors, and it's this: do you have any concern that a year or two from now that it will still be considered effective, or do you have any concern that we'll look back at this as fad marketing in retrospect, that it will not have held up as well as we think it's going to right now?
So I think generally when I'm asked that question more generally about things like Twitter or, blogging, whatever, my answer is, microblogging or social media is here to stay. Maybe it's not Twitter tomorrow. As time goes on, the more I think about that with Facebook specifically, I really don't think that Facebook is going to. I'm confident that at least 5 years out, Facebook will be the platform for social media marketing. I think that they're smart folks there now. They have a ton of money. They're profitable now. And I think the idea that social media marketing is going to be, fad marketing in the future, there are certain areas where it definitely will be. I think Quora is one of them.
Yeah.
But no offense to any, viewers who are really into Quora. It's cool right now, but it's Yahoo
The
Answers, which
15
is
minutes I think is ticking on Quora already. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully at least. And but I think with Facebook, the thing is there's a very mainstream audience there, and that's the thing. The mainstream isn't quite as fickle as the geeks are with a site like Quora or even maybe Twitter. Honestly, the mainstream tends to when they get into something and it fills a category in their mind, I think they tend to stick to it. And I think Facebook has got it.
Yeah, it's going to be part of, a media mix. Right now it's sort of segregated. As time goes on, it'll just become, and then what are we going to do on Facebook? There's countless TV ads you see now that at the end they've got their Facebook URL instead of their website URL. It's becoming, expected. And that's one of the things you talk about in the book is that if you're not on Facebook, it's a real disconnect, especially for younger target or younger audience. But it's becoming the same as a website. Why are you not online? Why are you not on Facebook? And so it's going to become even bigger, I would think, or more mainstream.
Well, let's take a quick break. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to and hopefully watching the Mr. Media radio interview with Dan Zarrella and Allison Zarrella, the married co-authors of the Facebook marketing book. And we'll be right back after this from Quora. What? That can't be right. Okay, well, we'll be back, and hopefully we'll be back.